Hey Rahul, so welcome. Thanks so much for taking out the time. The topic we want to talk today around is just re-acceleration. Obviously the 42, 45 days of lockdown are over, and companies are looking to restart operations. A lot of them have already have. Essential services has already continued. So today, I think my first question around that whole topic is, if you look at technology internet sector, right, and specifically, you guys are in a very niche business, but similar businesses within tech internet and similar to you guys, how are you planning to re-accelerate? Like, how have you brought back the supply? Have you started negotiation, discussions with customers, with suppliers, etc. Again, like what's happening on the ground?
Thing that we have been able to do over the past 1 month, if you look at it, has been streamlining operations. So how do you try to do more with less has been one of the agendas that we've been driving while the whole lockdown has been there. So a lot more focus has gone into technology than anything else. So what we are trying to catch up with the business, that catching up has happened over the last 1 month. And being in a B2B space, it becomes very important to see what the new normal is going to be. So over the past 1 month, we have been constantly engaging with our customers. So understanding how they are thinking about their business, because their business in turn impacts our business, right? However, at the same time, it becomes a responsibility of a supply chain player like us to work very closely with our suppliers. So we've helped the suppliers in different ways, ensuring that when demand picks up, when things become normal, they are in a state to take care of our operations, right? So in the past 1 month, a lot more focus on product, a lot more focus on process efficiency, and then engaging with customers on one side and making sure the suppliers are in a state of readiness whenever the operations get picked up.
You guys operate in a variety of verticals, right? So you're in energy, you would be in roads, you would be in sort of real estate, infrastructure, railways, and a lot of other industrial sectors. Which are the ones that have started picking up? Because also the government also approved a lot of at least rural and a lot of the urban construction and major infrastructure projects to restart operations. So which of these sectors have started, and how do you think they will sort of get back to normal, in what sequence?
In the private space, generally the players who had already invested money and the project has already started, it makes for perfect sense for them to continue it at a faster pace, because otherwise the cost of capital becomes very high. So those players which had the project running have started talking to us in a more engaging way to start operations. Whereas projects in the rural space, like transmission and distribution, or water for that sake, drinking water or water sanitation, these projects have picked up faster than anything else, right? Whereas if you look at it, probably expansion or replaceable market for capital goods, this would probably take some more time to pick up, probably 1 month or 2 months more. Of course, that's an assumption. But the other sectors which are specifically in the rural space, water and transmission distribution, have picked up faster.
What is the regulatory sort of framework right now on the ground? Like, let's say power, transmission, generation, petroleum, in all these sectors, which are allowed by the government to continue construction and sort of, delivery of projects, and which are still on hold?
Except for few hot states which are like Maharashtra, everywhere else government is allowed manufacturing of all kind to generally pursue. So if any capital project is going on, the government is letting it work. But government in the initial stages allowed irrigation and transmission and distribution to move ahead faster. But that was probably 2-3 weeks back. But now I think almost everything has started coming to an action point of phase.
Tell me one thing, what's happening with the pipeline? So, given the whole downtime that the government has also got, has it sort of kicked off new projects? Has it released more tenders, for the pipeline of projects? What has happened during these last 30, 40 days?
I think the government particularly has created a plan around how to increase the money in the market. And one way is to increase the production capacity of the country. So we are seeing a lot more tenders from the government side coming out. So a lot of public spend on the infra space, whether it be energy, whether it be road, construction, water, is something which we are seeing happening, right? We are also seeing even the private players trying to engage where they have a project running in. However, our assumption is that probably the private players who actually had planned previously would delay their capital expenditure for about a quarter or two.
And what about, and the new pipeline hence for private is slow as compared to government?
Of course.
Got it. Tell me one thing, what's for your customers, right, which is basically EPC or end use segments, How is there any near-term and short-term, buying behavioral change that you expect? Because also about the raw material supply, the labor supply, etc., and how they are thinking around it. The behavioral and also the terms and the way they operate and structure contracts. What changes are you expecting?
Around that, what would we assume that the companies will have to engage a lot more with their supply chain now, because now we can't expect the same kind of inefficiencies that were there before, because cash conservation will become one of the primary goals of each player in the supply chain. So that would mean that you will have better payment terms probably, because the number of suppliers would be lesser in the market who would be able to sustain the impact of COVID. So you'll have to ensure that the supply that is lasting is flourishing, and you're able to create more supply by giving those payment terms. One is that. Another thing that would be there is use of technology, right? Earlier, people were the way India used to operate a lot more, but now using technology to do more with less is something which we feel would happen as well, right? So these two primary aspects, where engaging with the supply and also making sure that you're using technology far more in all your operations and integrating yourself with each node of your supply chain, are few behavioral changes which we feel would start coming up with our customers as well as our suppliers.
And in your entire order delivery cycle, right from the point you sort of bid to a tender to you deliver and sort of get payments, how all are you guys using technology?
From the very beginning, while the time we integrate with the customer, which is from the inquiry bit to the time we are actually subcontracting it to our suppliers, the whole supply chain has the same information flowing, and there is at no point any manual intervention. So generally what happens is our project cycle is somewhere between 45 to 60 days, sometimes a little more. In the industry, it's a black box where industry doesn't know what's happening during these 45 to 60 days. Once the purchase order has been released, the industry just is sitting back and waiting for the product to come out after 45 days, and that might be a surprise. However, in our case, we have integrated with our suppliers so strongly, where we come to know of a real-time update from our suppliers. So that helps us plan operations really well. So if something is getting delayed, we can even predict that delay depending upon what the progress is at the moment, which is generally not possible with the traditional players who operate in that industry in the normal. So we've ensured that each day, each moment, we are aware of what's happening, and that's all through technology.
Are suppliers able to use technology? Are they able to sort of interact digitally with sort of new orders?
So that was actually surprising for us as well. One of the reasons that has happened, and we think that is the reason, is most of our suppliers are ingenious, because we're in the manufacturing space, and they were used to interacting with mails and tally in the past, right? So they are the two primary software they were using in the past. And for them, switching from mail or an AutoCAD to a software which is almost similar but far more intuitive was easy. And it was a very quick jump. We didn't even have to train them as much. That was one of our apprehensions, but that has not been the case. We have seen almost 100% adoption of technology with our suppliers, and that has been really surprising for us in the beginning. But right now, we are more bullish about developing more features for them where we can integrate even further.
Thank you so much for taking out the time. Wish you all the best and the health to you, your family, friends, colleagues, and hopefully you guys get back to the growth sort of you were on, and get back to sort of normal to pre-COVID levels. Wish you all the best.